Welcome back to the Road to a Million podcast. Today I'm with Adam from Detailers of Sarasota down in Sarasota, Florida. And Adam is a mobile detailer with one employee and has been detailing for 12 years now, self-employed for 9. And on this episode, Adam is going to tell us a little bit about his story. He once had a shop back in 2019 and several more employees, but today he's all mobile and he's making just as much as he was back then with only one employee. So he has a ton of really good insight within the mobile detailing operation. His van setup is worth over $100,000. He's bringing anywhere from $10,000 to $15,000 a week. He serviced over 2,300 customers last year. So this week he's going to tell us a little bit about his story and some of his tips and tricks for marketing and just how he thinks and runs his detailing business. I hope you guys enjoy. I love this episode. Huge thanks to Adam for coming on. Don't forget, you can use the timestamps in the description to skip ahead. And without further ado, let's get right into it. All right, today I'm with Adam from Detailers of Sarasota. Adam, thank you for coming on the podcast.
Yeah, of course, Josh. Thanks for having me, buddy.
I'm super excited for this one, man. Your van setup is sick, to say the least.
Thank you. Thank you.
Have you always had that?
I've always had a van. Yeah, I've always had a pretty professional van. When I started in business, I had a new Transit. So I've always tried to pull up looking new, looking presentable, looking intentional. That's the biggest thing.
Mm-hmm. Well, we were talking just before we started recording about how long you've been doing this for. So you said you've been detailing for 12 years,
Yep.
but you've been self-employed for 9. So
Yep.
Were you working for another detailing company for your first 3?
No, so I'm from St. Louis. Back in St. Louis, I was a detailer at a body shop. So I detailed all the cars that would leave once we were done with the body work. And then I quickly moved into paint. So I was a painter for about 3 years, but kind of simultaneously detailing at the same time, going home, detailing my own cars, detailing my mom's car, that kind of thing. And then I moved down to Sarasota, Florida in 2017 to start my own business.
Wow. Why'd you move to Sarasota?
I got 2 half sisters that live here, so I was familiar with the area. But it kind of, no really real reason. I was just ready to move out of my mom's house and figure if I'm going to move, I'm going to move and, go across the country. So yeah, that's what I did. And it's been fun. Florida's a beautiful place.
What part of St. Louis are you from?
Like Wildwood area.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know if you know, but I'm from Springfield. So just 3 hours away from St. Louis.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. I got a bunch of buddies from Springfield too.
That's cool. It's a small world, man.
Yeah, it is. It really is.
Well, dude, one of the things that everyone that's listening, I would highly recommend checking out Adam's social media, your Instagram, your Facebook, your YouTube. I think you do a phenomenal job on all those.
Thank you.
And
thank you, bud.
I've seen some of the car shows that you've gone to and the setups that you have there. It looks very professional. So I can tell you take it very seriously. So I was curious, just to start going back to the van.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel like by having that professional van setup like you do you feel like that has been a major contributor for business, or was that just one of those things that was like kind of like a non-negotiable in the beginning?
It was a non-negotiable in the beginning. I mean, I think that's one of the biggest things. The more professional your setup is, the more professional your brand is, the easier it's going to be to sell yourself and sell your services. If you pull up in a busted F-150, you're going to have to try, honestly, probably 10 times harder to sell a detail than I have to sell a detail. So that's how I've always looked at it. When you go to car shows, I'm constantly booking details from people that I didn't even talk to. They just saw the van, walked by it, sent me an email, called me, so they were already sold at that point. So no, I would say it's for me, a totally non-negotiable. It's a must-have.
Did you buy it in cash or did you finance it?
The van I have now, I financed it. I believe it was right around 70,000 new. I put 25 down, financed 50. And hopefully my goal is to have that paid off by the end of the year. I think I have about 25 left on it.
Okay. Do you think that's the way to go, to finance?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I don't think it would be smart if I, just put $70,000 down on that van. I don't think that would be a smart idea. Yeah, I got some interest on it, but yeah, I'm never scared to take a loan. But again, I've only taken a loan for, a house or a car. I don't take personal loans, things like that. So no, I wouldn't be scared of that. I think that's a smart thing. Would I recommend someone coming in out the gate and getting $100,000 van that doesn't really know how to run a business yet? Definitely not. Um, but I would say, to each their own. Most people know themselves, and some people are more risk adverse than others. And for me, I'm pretty comfortable with risk. I've been, like I said, working for myself for 8, 9 years now, and the it doesn't really scare me or spook me anymore. Pretty used to it.
Now, was that 70,000 including the setup?
No, with the setup, everything right now, I'm probably about 115.
Wow. So the setup itself was what?
About
45,000?
no,
Is that
about
right?
30, and then I got just miscellaneous other things. Inside I got the wrap. That was about 10. We got Starlight headliner, just like miscellaneous stuff like that.
Yeah. But that's like your shop. That's your
Yeah,
walking
for sure.
rolling shop.
And I look at it like if we have last year, I think we serviced about 2,300 clients. So figure, I mean, if you break that down, you got at least probably 10 times the amount of those people walking by your doors every single day, if not 20x that from dog walkers, neighbors, things like that. So I've just looked at it like, if a van's going to be on the road for 10 years, you got 250,000 people that are going to be physically at the back doors looking at your van. So I look at it like that. It's like you can't afford not to have a professional setup if you're talking, that many people, 10 to 20,000 people a year looking at it. It's
Yeah.
worth it to make it look professional.
Hmm. Did you ever see yourself getting a shop?
Yeah, I've had a shop in the past. I had about a 4,000 square foot shop in 2019 to 2020. It was just too big at the time, though. We never used all of it, so got out of that. Now we just have the one van, but we're doing right now the same numbers that we used to do with the shop and 6 employees with one employee. So
Hmm.
we're just running a lot more lean now. There's days where I wish I had a shop, but it's really not a necessity right now. Any of the coatings corrections that we do, we can do in clients' garages. We always have, they're always nicer high end cars, which typically is a nicer home garage. So it's just never been an issue up until this point. Eventually, we're going to need another one once we get a second van, just for the guys to come to and from work, a place to store more chemicals, things like that. But probably about a year or so, we'll have another shop.
Yeah. Wow. So you had a shop and 6 employees back in 2019?
Yep.
Okay. So what happened? Like, why did you decide to get rid of the shop? And
I wouldn't even say it was necessarily my choice. The business, honestly, this is something a lot of people don't know, but around that time, pretty much that whole time when I moved to Florida up until that point, I used to have the mindset that I'm going to detail until I figure out what I want to do with my life, which is not
Mhm.
really a good, uh, conversation to keep having with yourself in your head when you're leading 6 guys. So I think it kind of honestly just self imploded pretty quickly. I fired 2 guys in about a week or 2 week period. 2 other guys were kind of confused as to why that happened, so they quit. And then the best guy I had was employee number 6, which was now employee number 1, and he quit, rightfully so, because he's like, "Oh, this is a sinking ship." So it went from great to self implosion in like probably 3 months. It was pretty quick. But the whole time I remember thinking like, this is actually kind of good because then I can like go and do something else that I maybe want to do. So I took about a year off, year and a half off right at the start of COVID, got into a totally different industry. Um, Pretty much 6 months into that, I'm like, man, I really, really like detailing. I really enjoyed it. It's kind of one of those things where you don't really know you miss it until it's gone.
Mhm.
So from there, I rebranded, I rebuilt it, restarted the business, I guess rebranded it in 2021, late 2022, maybe. And yeah, since from there, I've just been pretty much made a commitment to myself that this is what I want to do. And, for a good 30 years.
Wow. Mhm.
It was a hectic year, though. I mean, I can remember being so stressed out. Like, yeah, there was a time I was $7,000 short of payroll the day before. So I had to either have a really hard conversation the next day or I had to go find $7,000. And in that case, somehow I pre sold 4 ceramic coatings and convinced all of them to prepay for it. So I have a good way of getting myself out of the corner of the room, but it's one of those things where it's really not fun putting yourself in situations like that. So Yeah, I mean, the business when I ran it before, I was 19 with or 20 with pretty much that amount of employees. So, I was a kid teaching kids, honestly, at the end of the day. And that's what I'm really thankful for. That taught me a few things of what to do right, but more importantly, 1,000 things of what not to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Can you speak to that a little bit of like what things did you learn? What lessons, major lessons did you learn? What things did you learn not to do after having
Biggest
led a
thing,
team?
I was too focused on my wins from the day before, where now if I have a big win, it's immediately written off when I go to bed and I wake up. Today's a new day. Let's find some more wins today. Second thing that comes to mind is more often than not, I was not the one unlocking the shop and turning the lights on. So I get there, someone's already there. One of my employees, two of my employees are already there. And that just doesn't look good. At the end of the day, back then I didn't think anything of it. It was more, I was the boss leading from the back instead of the leader leading from the front. And when you do that, guys will respect you less. They'll take you less seriously. And yeah, I just didn't really have a good mindset with it that I'm going to be here first. I'm going to be here last. I'm going to work harder than you guys. And that's kind of my mindset now. Like my employee, I every day I'm like, I'm going to work harder than him. I'm going to, and not in a competitive way, but in a way where I work for him. He doesn't work for me. And my mindset used to be all these guys work for me. And now it's I work for them.
Mm.
Everything just kind of flipped.
Yeah, I feel like just your mindset, like whether you take it seriously or not, whether you commit to doing this full time or not, like that in and of itself has a huge effect on the business.
100%. And it's something I never audibly said, but you don't have to audibly, speak that into words. People can pick up on that pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So, that's something I wasn't even aware of at the time.
Hmm. So you stopped for about a year and a half after
Mm-hmm.
that, and that was right around COVID time. And
Yep.
then you got back into it and rebranded.
Yep.
Whenever you got back into it, were you reaching back out to your old customers? Were you able to
Oh, yeah.
retain any of them?
Yeah, pretty much retained none of them, rightfully so. Year and a half off, everyone's got new companies, they got new relationships, new friends. I think out of the 1,100 clients I got maybe seven back. It was almost no
Mm.
one. So completely restarted. But again, at that point, I was able to really speed it up and get, I think we did, I think we did just about 200 that first year.
200,000.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Is that when you bought your van? Did you buy the van you have now
Yep.
when you
So
got
I
into it?
had, when I was still running the business, I had an F 150. I sold the van a while ago, the first van. I had an F 150 with a big trailer. And then I had that F 150 when I was still out of the first business into a different industry. And then when I got back into the business, I had that van or had that truck and trailer still. And then I ended up selling that F 150 to put down towards the van that I currently have now.
Okay, got it. So you bought the new van, got back into it. How did you go about getting customers when you came back?
I mean, I think I'm really good at just guerrilla marketing. I'm really good at in person, face to face conversations. I can stop in any business, I can interject myself into any conversation and have pretty good results with that. So, I'm trying to think of exactly what I did, but just really hungry, just working really hard, working on my phone, messaging people, talking to people, building relationships, starting conversations, car shows, really just getting out and about and talking to more people.
Hmm. Did you do a lot of like Facebook or Google ads or anything like that?
No, I've never ran ads.
Yeah. Hmm.
I think it could be beneficial, but it's kind of one of those things where I've always looked at it like at the end of the day, we're all trying to make money. And first, before money, you got to have a relationship. And before that, you have to have a conversation. So I kind of became aware of that about a couple of years ago, and I just started chasing conversations. And, that's the reason why we run Google ads, Facebook ads. It's to simply just start a conversation, which could maybe lead to a relationship, which might lead to money. So, yeah, no, I never really got into ads or really, at some point I'm sure we'll need to. The more employees we get, the more cars we're doing. Once we're doing, 30 to 50 cars a day, we're probably going to need to run some ads to keep that filled. But for the most part, no, I've never had to run a single paid ad.
Hmm. Were you on social media, like in any like groups or?
No, I've never got details from groups. I mean, when people post on Facebook, hey, does anyone have a detailer? There's always 500 comments in 5 minutes.
Oh yeah.
So I might have gotten one or two from that, but no, honestly, most of the details, pretty much all of them that I've got is just from me, just finding them, knowing what to say, knowing how to say it, and getting them to trust me, getting them to like me, getting them to laugh. That's a big thing. And from there,
Yeah.
yeah, they throw us a bone, we do a good job, and one detail turns to two, two turn to four. That's kind of always been my mindset with it.
Sure. Well, I would imagine when you step back into it, if you were fairly committed and you had this professional setup, um, just showing up at someone's house, driving around, like you said, sparking up a conversation. Like I'm sure that pretty quickly people could tell that you were serious and wanted to be a part of that.
Yep. I mean, I can remember just even like I would pull my van up onto a roundabout and just start washing my van on a roundabout. So like anything to just get attention. If I don't have anything going on this Saturday morning, I'll go up to the nicest gym in town and park the van at 5 in the morning and go pick it up that night. Right in the first spot. So, and then while I'm doing that, I'm back home messaging people, you know, liking, engaging, whatever it is.
And that seemed to work. Like you were getting people calling you, seeing your van, seeing you out there cleaning the van.
Oh yeah, I've had a day where I had like 12 people call me from having it parked at a gym.
Wow.
Yeah. So again, that goes back to your first question: how important is having a good van? For sure, if that would just had magnets on it, probably no one would have even seen it.
Did you have the wrap back then on it?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So you mentioned that at some point you guys hope to be doing like 30 cars a day. How many cars a day are you guys doing right now?
Average day is like 8.
8 cars a day?
Yeah.
And how many of those cars are like more of your maintenance clients versus like full thorough details versus like coatings
So we don't
corrections?
have many. We don't do like maintenance details. We don't do maintenance pricing. We don't have anything like that. Um, Majority of our details are new clients. Obviously we retain a lot of them, but a lot of them, are every couple months, few times a year, that kind of thing. Average ticket's about 340. So kind of in that, not a full detail, but not, an entry level wipe down either. So kind of in there. The coatings we really don't do too many coatings. I don't push them that hard just because we honestly make just as much, if not more, doing mobile details. So it's kind of one of those things where it's like, we got, I think, 2 this week. Normally we're doing maybe 5 a month, so we really don't do that many coatings. But I've always looked at it like, if we make the same amount of money, it's kind of asking yourself, like, why are we doing more red cars this week than black cars? It really doesn't matter.
Yeah. Man, that's really interesting that you said that you don't do maintenance. You don't do maintenance prices, right?
Yep. Yep.
Can you talk about why?
Yeah. I mean, I've done it every which way possible. And it always results in 3 weeks of every month just being cheap maintenance details. And you really have about a week to make your own money. So, it just depends. Like if people are less, or more or less risk diverse, maybe they want to go that route and kind of build it like a pool cleaning company where they just get people on a maintenance, they get cards on file, and they're comfortable doing 15, 20,000 a month, knock yourself out. But for me, I'd rather not have any work scheduled. I'd rather not have anything set up in a hard contract where I kind of have to go find it. It finds me. And doing that, obviously, it's a little more work. It's a little more stress, but you always make more money doing that because you're not just feeding yourself cheap details all day, every day.
You're probably the first person that's ever said that and articulated it in a good way, and I couldn't agree more.
Yeah, I mean, you just cap yourself. So, I mean, some people are comfortable with the 20,000 a month salary. It's just I don't like capping myself.
Yeah. Well, I've always struggled with it, and I see all these guys talking about maintenance details, maintenance details. It's like, how does that make sense? Because, like in our own business, I've always struggled with making it make sense for the hourly rate, you know?
It doesn't. I try to stay around the 250 plus an hour, while we're working, and there's no way to do it with maintenance clients. Like you still got to go through the whole detail. You got to go through the whole same steps. So I just tell people like, look, if you want, an Escalade, our starting price is 225 for our level 1. And again, if you want me to do it every day or once a year, it's still 225.
Yep. Yeah, it doesn't save me that much time. Even if your
Not
vehicle's clean, I
really.
still got to clean it.
Yeah, you still got to go through the motions. And if
Yeah,
that one time you don't, you're going to miss something.
exactly. Yeah. Yeah, and then that's on you. Like that's kind of takes a chip away at your brand. I mean, if the customers truly understand, like there's a few people out there I can think of that like would truly not be upset if we were to spend a third of the amount of time on their vehicle, but it's like I don't feel comfortable doing that.
Right. Yeah, and I mean, I've always looked at it like I'm not charging you for the time it takes us. I'm charging you for the value and the detail that was delivered. You know, if and I've had people in the past where we do something and it's, whatever, $1,000 detail and it takes us 2.5 hours or 2 hours. And some people will get upset at that and they'll be like, "Oh man, you just made $450 an hour." And then you got people that are like, "Wow, dude, you just made 450 an hour. That's awesome." So
Mm-hmm.
that comes down to your clientele. Like, one of my rules is I don't detail for losers. If someone's a loser and they got a loser mindset, I'm not detailing for them. So it's like those are the people that are headaches. And it's like I want people to look at that and be like, "That's awesome. That's good." And at the end of the day, it's like if you get the exact same detail, wouldn't you rather take 2 hours versus 8 hours? I mean, anytime someone's over your house, HVAC, lawn guy, you're always kind of waiting for them to leave, like get out of my house, even if
Yep.
they're outside. So I've always looked at it like do the job as best as we can and as quickly as possible.
Mm-hmm. Still having good quality.
Yeah, of course. I mean, that's this industry. If you detail 1,000 cars and you mess one up, that's gonna stain your reputation. So you
Yeah.
really don't have time for. Sometimes you don't get second chances in this industry.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you're probably at eight cars a day at $340. I mean, you're looking at over $2,500 a day on average. Is that right?
Yeah, yeah. Right now, I mean, we're doing 25 is about normal. I think this year we've been doing anywhere from like 10 to 15 a week.
Mm-hmm. So on a yearly scale, I mean, you're looking at over 500K.
Yeah,
That's pretty
yeah,
good.
yeah. That's not bad. I mean, I wouldn't say it's great, but I would say it's working. And again, like I stopped chasing the money. Like in the past, my goal would have been let's do 500 this year, let's do 600, 700. I don't even really look at it. I just you can't control how much money you make. But I can control how many people I reach out to today. I can control how many posts I make. I
Mm-hmm.
can control a lot of things, but how much money I make is not something I can control.
Yeah. I like that way of thinking. It's like focus on what you can control, right?
Yep.
You
And
can
back
control how much you
to,
quote,
yeah,
but
exactly. Like back to the conversation, relationship, money. I used to just chase the money. And it's like if you go to people straight for the money, ask for the money out the gate, it's not going to work. So, again, I can't control that, but I can control how many conversations I start today.
sure. So when someone's calling in or you're calling them, messaging them, like what does that look like? What does a typical conversation with a customer or a potential client look like?
To like a pre-existing customer that I'm trying to book in again or what?
Maybe, yeah, or maybe just someone that hasn't had done business with you before, but they're interested.
So like a pre-existing client, I'll message you, I'll say, hey Josh, we'll be at your neighbor's house next Wednesday at 2 p.m. Do you want me to come by at 10 a.m. or noon? What time's better for you? So I'll change the question of, hey Josh, do you want a detail to, hey Josh, what time do you want your detail? So little tweaks like that have helped me a lot. Um, new clients, I'm not obviously cold calling new clients, but something I do is like when I'm on Instagram, when I'm on Facebook, again, I'm never going straight to the money. I'm never going straight to the ask. The longer that you can go without asking, eventually they're going to ask you. And that's how it always goes. Um, so, if it's a real estate agent, I'll comment and be like, oh, that's a beautiful driveway. I'd love to detail a car in that driveway, or, hint at something, but don't quite make the ask. But ultimately it just comes down to, I'm comfortable playing the long game in this. I, I mean, I can't tell you how many relationships I built for 2 years before it turned into any dollar exchange. So, that's my whole principle is just conversation relationship. I know if I build more of those, I'll have more of the third.
Mm-hmm. Reminds me of Grant Menard. I think he said that he walked in to a Porsche dealership for like 3 or 4 years before they ended up becoming a client of his.
Yeah, I
And
mean,
now they're a $750,000 a year client.
yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. I mean, same with like, we do Lamborghini Sarasota's cars, and even that. I mean, I worked for 2 years to get a conversation with the GM, and then once I got in there, it did not go how I thought it was going to go, and I was like, all right, well, I just wasted 2 years trying to get in here, and he was talking the cheapest numbers possible. So, I figured at that point, I was like, instead of going in the front door, let me go in the back door and see if I can build relationships with these guys. And that's what I did. I built relationships with 4 different people, and then eventually somehow all 4 of them got a job at Lambo. And, they just looked up, they're all working together, and they're like, dude, let's just call Adam. Screw this other detailer. We don't even know him. We don't know him anything. Let's just call Adam. And I mean, that was something where, yeah, one of those was a 4-year relationship, 2 years, 3 years of just, text them every month, every 2 months, just saying, hey, Josh, it's going to be a great day today, man. I can feel it. Just send them something. Just stay on their head.
Yeah. And not doing it because you think you're going to get something out of it, right? Like that's
Well,
huge.
that's the biggest thing. I mean, yeah, I have no expectations of almost anyone or anything in this world, So when you don't have expectations, it's pretty hard to get let down, because that's, yeah, I'm doing it so that hopefully it might lead to money, but I'm also doing it because I genuinely want you to have a good day.
Yes. Yeah, I think that's an important distinction to make, and you can look back and see the times where it's paid off, and that helps to, I think, give us a little bit of fuel. It's like, man, you never know what might come just from giving someone a little bit of encouragement and touching base with them.
We'll look at it too, like how many people are doing that for you, Do you really have a lot of people that are messaging you every day and saying, oh, dude, today's going to be a killer day. I can feel it. Like, not really.
No.
So when you get someone that does that, you're going to pay attention to it.
Yeah. Yeah, and it makes people feel good, man. And like sometimes that's what people need, whether it's just going through a tough time or, just needing a little bit of encouragement. It goes a
Whatever
long
it
way.
is, just, hey, Josh, I'm rooting for you, buddy. Just want to let you know that.
So you walked into or whenever you finally got into the door at the Lamborghini dealership, what you're telling me is that their prices that they wanted to pay you were very low. So it didn't
Dirt
work
cheap.
out.
Yeah. No. Yeah, it didn't work out. It was cheap. I don't remember the number. I mean, it was years ago, but I remember thinking like, dude, I could be here all day and make like $500. Like,
Yeah.
that's stupid.
So then you ended up getting to know some people that eventually got hired by that same dealership.
Yep.
And then they were using another detailer, but then they were like, hey, why don't we call Adam? We know Adam. We trust him.
Exactly. Everyone that worked in the front showroom all knew me.
And then so they agreed to then pay your prices at that point?
Yeah. Yeah, retail.
Wow.
Yeah.
How long have you been doing work for them?
Not long, about a year.
Okay.
Not even. And that's not like a major moneymaker for us. They're all, for the most part, yeah, we get some one steps here and there, but for the most part, it's just good to post, have a good consistent feed of nice cars. And they're also a good client. Like if someone cancels last minute, I can almost always go through there and have something to work on, something to do, something to just, I can almost go walk the lot and be like, hey, this R8 needs a detail. Let me get the keys.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. I just feel like most dealerships out there are trying to, get the cheapest price possible, rightfully so. Right. But then you do get a few of these guys that are willing to pay just for their relationship.
Yep.
They're willing to pay those retail prices.
And again, they wouldn't do it if it didn't make sense. Like I can see a clear distinction of when we detail a car. More often than not, it sells the same week. So if we can keep that going, and that's our mindset, like, again, when I'm there, if someone walks in the door, I'm going to greet them. I'm going to introduce myself. I'm going to ask if they need help, just like if I work there.
Mm-hmm.
Where a lot of guys wouldn't do that. They probably just let them walk right by. I would say, hey, my name's Adam. Anything I can help you with? Can I find you a salesman? What do you need?
That's huge. Just being there.
Taking ownership.
Did you hear that Grant Menard worked out a deal? I think he took off 10% off of the top, what he was normally charging him, so that he could put his business's name on every single car that they detail for Porsche.
Yeah, that's awesome. No, I did not know that. What's his last name? Grant Menard.
Yeah. So
Yeah, I'll look him up.
so he's got cars, Porsches that are on the other side of the country that it says on there, detailed by Menard Premium
Where
Detailing.
at? Just like a sticker on the jam or something, or what?
I believe so, but I think it's also on like the Carfax.
Oh,
So
nice.
yeah, I think there's a few spots where you can kind of see that his company's name on that. But I thought
That's
that was a
cool.
pretty cool little,
Yeah, that's a cool idea.
yeah. So you said that you are texting some of your old customers when you're going to do a vehicle that's in their area that
Yeah,
you're
but
already doing.
I'm not even necessarily by their area. I'm just saying
Mm,
that,
okay.
and then you go through and then I'll go through and text the next person that's actually down the street and say, hey Nancy, I'm going to be at Josh's house. And I can fill up the whole day right there just on one street
Sure.
more often than not.
So
But again,
how?
it comes with the question, like the amount of times I've done that and said, hey Josh, I got some time in my week next Tuesday. You need a detail? Nah, man, I'm good. Thanks for asking. Because you put them right on the fence. If I say, so this is the fence and I got you right on top, that's psychology. You can easily just go boop or boop. If I say, hey Josh, what time do you want your detail? You're already over here now. So now you have to take the extra effort and jump back over the fence.
Mm,
So it's like little subtle psychology moves where I'm pushing you off the fence without you even realizing that I pushed you off the fence. And you can easily just hop back up on the middle of the fence if you want to, but you got to figure out how to ask better questions.
yeah. And by saying, "Hey, I'm already in your area. I'm going to be
Yeah,
in your
I'll
area."
be right next door. Another
Yeah.
thing I do to stay up with clients is I often call clients. This is like my little 2 minute phone call conversation. I've talked about it many times, but I'll call you up. I'll say, hey, Josh, what's going on, buddy? I was just at one of your neighbor's house today, just passed by your place and was thinking about you, man. You popped in my head. How's everything been, man? What's going on? You'll talk about yourself for a minute. More likely than not, you're going to flip the script. How you been, dude? What's going on? How's the family? How's the business? I'll give myself about 10, 15 seconds. Oh, dude, family's great, man. The girls are getting big. She just had her dance recital. Business has been booming, man. Honestly, no complaints. Oh, hey Josh, I got another client calling me right now. I got to let you go. I didn't need anything. Just wanted to give you a call, man. Hope you've been well. See you, buddy. Bye bye. And I'll hang up on you. Before you can say anything. So again, I'm saying a couple things there. I'm saying, hey, I didn't need anything, making that clear. And I'm also saying, hey, I got another client calling me. So I'm also insinuating that you're also one of my clients, so, and then boom, hang up. I can rifle through about 10, 15 of those a day, where they take me 90 seconds. And then, you never know who's on the other end of that. If a husband and wife are sitting together, they're always going to be like, who was that? Oh, it was Adam with Detailers of Sarasota. What did he want? Nothing. He's just calling to say what's up. And then he's
Yeah.
going to be like, I like that dude. It's like I genuinely didn't need anything. I'm just calling to say what's up. See how everything's been. Can I do anything for you? And then shutting it down quickly, knowing when to end a conversation is just as valuable as knowing how to start the conversation.
Do you check in with your customers like that, like once a month?
No, I wouldn't say once a month. I mean, about 100 people I probably stay up with on a monthly basis. Other than that, I rely a lot on automated, messaging going out. That first year, I think we have 8 automated messages that send out the next day to 12 months later. Um, yeah, and I mean, I go through my CRM too. I can go through it. I can see my top spenders. I can see the people that it's been the longest. Granted, it's probably not the best idea to call someone that was a detail 3 years ago. They're gonna be like, "Who is this?" They're not gonna
Yeah.
remember anything. So you want it to be somewhat fresh. Um, but yeah, I mean, multiple ways like that. Just reaching out to people, just saying what's going on. Passed by your house earlier, detailing one of your neighbor's cars, man. You popped in my head.
Yep.
Because more often than not, when you do that, they're going to message you 2, 3 weeks later saying, "Hey, man, I want to get my wife's car on the schedule."
Sure. So is that fairly uh, systemized? Do you have like the 100 people set into your CRM or a reminder
Nope.
to follow up?
Everyone's in the CRM, so all 1,000+ clients are getting automated emails, texts, that kind of thing. The stuff that I'm talking about, no, I just do manually. So
If it genuinely popped into your head.
yeah, like if we're at this street and I'm like, man, the street looks familiar. I know we got some more clients in this area. I can just type in the zip code on my CRM, pull up everyone. I can type in the street name. I can see who's nearby, and I'll just call those people. Or yeah, someone that just pops in my head. Like I can think of a guy right now that just popped in my head. I'll text him when we get off of this and say, hey man, was just running some errands, just passed right by your house, man. Hope you're doing well. Let's have a kick-ass week. That's no, I'm not asking for shit. I'm just staying on top of your head.
Mm-hmm. So how often are you doing like how often are you having to drum up business like that, or has that just become a part of like your routine?
It's always going to be my routine. It depends. I mean, right now, like summer for me, sometimes is the slower season where we're staying booked out, or we're staying consistent with jobs. We're just not as far booked out. Um, Another thing that leads to is like in our busy season, which is typically like October, November, December, kind of like the end of fall, mid to end of fall. I can go 3 months, 4 months without having to pick up my phone and reach out to people. I just have that much influx coming in. Where in the slower season, I have to kind of flip it and go a little more manual with it and do what we were just talking about, where I reach out to people.
Mm-hmm. How far out do you want to stay booked?
For me, ideally 2 weeks. Honestly, for me, ideally maybe closer to a week. I like that because then you can get people in our busy season. Once we get like 3 weeks, 4 weeks booked out, I lose more money every day than what we book. I think last year it was a lot. I mean, I was turning away a couple thousand a day for a month and a half, 2 months straight.
Yeah, people just want to get in quicker and you can't get them in.
Yeah, I mean, who wants to wait 4 weeks to get their car detailed?
Yeah, no one.
Exactly. So, no, I try to, but again, you can only control that so much. Like going into this year, I'm hoping to hire our second guy or third guy with me included, probably right around the start of the year, like December, January.
Mm-hmm.
And, at that point, yeah, we'll be able to influx a little more. But that's kind of one of those things where, you can plan for it, but it can be hard to control sometimes because, that's just how it goes. Sometimes I'll book up 2 weeks in 4 hours. It just randomly happens that a lot of people just message me this morning and 12 people just scheduled online in the last 3 hours. And sometimes it just, poof, you just blew up. And sometimes you got to take a little more time to fill it, but that's business.
Mm-hmm. I'm curious to know. So I know you have one employee. I'm
Yep.
curious to know how much are you still helping him versus how much are you sitting there on the phone and recording stuff?
I mean, he knows his stuff. Like he's a professional detailer for sure. Um, I record a lot. He records a lot, but we don't really have to talk to each other. We're more just goofing around, having fun, making each other laugh. Um, yeah, but I really don't have to coach him on much. I mean, there's still some things maybe every other day where I'm like, hey, check this, check that. And it's the tiniest little things that probably most other detailers wouldn't have even noticed. So he's pretty dialed, but here we've always been working together. Here at the end of the summer, we're all going on a cruise. His family's coming with my family. We're all going on a cruise. So when we get back from that, he's going to start running Fridays solo. That's another thing. We really haven't worked Fridays this whole year. So we really just work Monday to Thursday. So I've been taking Friday off for an admin day, just office day, catch up on whatever I need to do, run some errands, do whatever. So come first week of September, he's going to start running Friday solo. Get him, doing that for about 6 months. So he'll have about 24 Fridays solo. And then hopefully add a third guy in there, like I said, at the end of the year. And then my goal is pretty much this time next year, I'm going to be alternating every week. So instead of me just having Fridays for admin day, I'm going to be working with them in the van Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then the next week, Tuesday, Thursday. So every week I have 3 days of admin day, and then 2 days of admin day, and then 3 days, and then 2 days. So I think that's going to be a major driver of us pushing through the next level.
Mm-hmm. Do you already have kind of an idea of what those admin days will look like?
Yeah, I mean, they're all over the place. I mean, some days I'm working on a website. Some days I'm just scheduling and working on Instagram posts. Some days I'm just client outreach. Some days I'm driving around to 20 different businesses that don't know me to introduce myself. They're all over the place.
Hmm.
But anything that I think in my head is productive.
I'm curious to know when you say driving around to other businesses, are you trying to set up some kind of like benefit thing for the employees? Are you talking to the business owner? Are you just
I'll talk to the front desk chick. No one really in particular. I'll walk in there and just introduce myself. Hi, my name's Adam. I'm with Detailers of Sarasota. Man, I pass by here all the time. I just wanted to come in, introduce myself. Like I said, my name's Adam. If you guys ever need anything, I own a mobile detailing business and we're always around town. I live 5 minutes up the road. Here's one of my cards. If you ever need anything, I just want you to know that I'm in Florida and I exist. I'm ready for your work if you need anything. But it's always like and again, every place is different. You change the tone of where you're going, who's at the front desk, who you're talking to. But I'm never trying to sell myself or book a detail necessarily. I'm more so, I want them to know that I'm around. I want them to know who I am and what I do. And, more often than not, I'm going in there without a card in my hand. I'm just going in there, introduce myself. 90% of the time they say, hey, let me get a card. Oh yeah, I didn't bring one in. I was just coming to introduce myself, but yeah, let me get one for you. Hey, actually, you got a minute? Why don't you just come out to the van with me? I'll get you one out of the van.
Yeah.
So I'll try to get them out there. And pretty much anyone will do that because anyone's just waiting patiently to leave their office desk for 5 minutes. So I'll get them out there and then I open up the back doors. They're like, oh shit, like this is really intentional. This is really professional. And then at that point, then they'll start asking me some more questions. I'll hand them a trifold, give them a business card. And yeah, I mean, you never know what that'll turn into. But biggest thing is, a lot of people know me, but a lot more people don't know me. So you got to just find them, Something for me that helps with that is I think about and I visualize what kind of profession would my ideal client have? Let's say real estate, CPA, doctor, business owner, whatever. Make that list and then I'll hop on Google and find like the top 2 or 3 of those occupations in my area. And then I'll just go introduce myself to them. And that can also be virtual, but I really like going in person. So like the days when I do that, I'll also message, but again, I'm not messaging saying, hey, if you ever need a car detailed, would love to help you out. I'm engaging on what their posts are. I'm commenting something relative. And then eventually they're going to click on my page. And like I said, the longer you can go without asking, eventually they're going to ask you.
And then do you stop back by if you've already stopped at some place once, haven't heard from them? Do you stop back by in a few months or?
No, there's too many places.
Yeah. But you may comment on some of their Facebook or Instagram posts.
Yeah. I mean, anyone like that, I'm going to follow their page. So they'll, most businesses now have a page. I'll stay up on it. More than likely not. They follow me back immediately. So we kind of stay up on like that.
Yeah.
But no, I'm not going into a place 2 times.
I think it's huge what you said by not bringing in a card, because like the immediate thing that people think to do is like have a card in their hand.
And then they just hand it over before they even say anything.
Yeah. And it's also, I think people's guards go up whenever you're handing them something. They're like, oh, this guy's here to sell me something.
Yep.
Hey, I'm here and this is my card. And if you ever need us or services.
Right. And that's the opposite of what you want to do. I really go in there and just say, hey, my name's Adam. I drive by here all the time. Oh, cool, Adam. What do you do? I actually own a mobile detailing business. So you want them to try to ask you. I'm not trying to just give you all the information out the gate. Be a little curiosity, I guess, with it. But like you were saying, like people don't want to be sold. When people think they're about to be sold, their guard goes up, their defense goes up. That's one of the biggest things. Like when we go to car shows, there's multiple detailing companies at the same car show that we're a sponsor at. I think we're the 4th detailing company, but every company has, a nice canopy, a nice tablecloth, a nice professional looking booth. But I can tell you, like, you can visibly see people walk faster down that aisle because they're not trying to be sold. They're trying to go to a car show. So again, I get out there with my van and just the van is my booth, open up all the doors so people can kind of just poke in, look at stuff. But I'm trying to be different. I'm trying to, you want to have conversations going. So like last Cars and Coffee, we gave out a bunch of model cars to kids. So we had a table of big model cars. You probably saw that. Gave those out. This upcoming one here next weekend, we got a big prize wheel that we got a kind of one of those Christmas trees that the drag racers use. It's one of those big Christmas trees, and we have a sponsored drag racer. So his dragster is going to be parked right next to us, like a funny car looking dragster. And it's essentially a game. So if you can beat Nico, our drag racer, on a reaction time, you get 3 chances to beat him on a reaction time. You get to spin the prize wheel, which is $100 gift cards to local businesses, $500 in cash for one of them. So it's all legit prizes. So whatever you can do to get people talking about you, I think that's ultimately good. And again, I'm not trying to sell anything. You might win $500 in cash if you come over to our booth just by playing a game. And we're not asking you to fill out, let me get your email, let me get your number. No, that's corny as hell. Like, let's just have fun. Maybe we'll have a new relationship.
Yeah, I like it. How did the model cars go?
Oh, it crushed. I gave out like 40 of them in the first 30 minutes.
Just to kids?
Yeah, only kids. But
Yeah.
again, like, kids are pretty indecisive. I mean, I couldn't even figure out which one was my favorite. So it's like, those kids are going to, and I knew they would spend 5 minutes trying to figure out which one they wanted. The parents are going to be right there, and which point the dad's going to be looking at the the van. I got this mobile TV right here, big mobile TV, one of those wireless stand ones.
Yeah.
So that thing we're going to have playing our YouTube videos, and I got one of those hood displays that shows the ceramic coating, waterfall thing. So it's like, if you can have the kid there, then you can sell the parent. A lot of people don't think about it, but it's like, if you can sell the kid, you can sell the parent. You just got to sell the kid.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, but at that point we're just having fun. That's something I'm really liking this year that feels different is now, like, I'm a master detailer. I've mastered detailing. I know a lot of stuff. Pretty much anything I encounter on the day to day, I know how to do it. So at that point, you can kind of just start having fun with the business and enjoying it and just starting more conversations, laughing more, be more engaging, things like that.
How much money did it cost to buy all those model cars?
I've collected them over the years. I think the cars that I gave out, it was around $1,200 in cars.
Do you have a budget for like things like that?
No, no. I mean, the prize wheel that we're going up against, I got $700 in gift cards to local businesses and 500 cash. So yeah, another 1,200 there. But last one I booked, I think $4,500 from.
Mm-hmm.
But
Is
again,
that
if it doesn't come back this one, like this Cars and Coffee, I might not book anything. And I'm never booking anything there. It's always after the fact till Sunday night, those next 2 days. But, whatever. If it doesn't lead to business, it doesn't lead to business. But that's not why I'm doing it. I'm doing it to get my face out there. I'm doing it to start new conversations, and like something I tell people often. But when I go to anywhere, when I go to a car show, I mean, when I leave my house, I put on the hat that I'm running for mayor. It's a mindset that I'm running for Sarasota mayor. And if you're running for mayor, you're going to talk to a lot of people, you know, and that's how I do it. If I go to Culver's at 10 o'clock at night and get an ice cream, I'm going to know everyone's name that's working there.
Mm-hmm. I have this theory that just by the way that you design your van and the way that you carry yourself, that you probably weed out a lot of the people that are just like tire kickers. Like you're probably not getting a whole lot of people
No,
that are
I
coming up
really
to you and
don't.
going, "Oh man, your prices are $400 for a detail. That's
Yeah.
crazy."
Yeah. No, I get very little pushback. We had a bad client a couple weeks ago, but it's so far few in between that it's like, yeah, our prices pretty much keep the cheap people out.
Yeah, because there's a lot of detailers that, I mean, they complain about this all the time. I mean, it's part of business. It's part of detailing. You're going to have people like that, but I think you can weed it out by
You can do
your
a lot to mitigate it
professionalism.
for sure. You can do
Yeah.
a lot to mitigate it. Another thing, like I don't let people walk on me. If someone's out of touch with reality, I'm gonna let them know they're out of touch with reality. You know, I had a guy come up to me at the car show that was a client and was like, "So you want to know why I stopped using you?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure. Tell me." He's like, "Well, because you always changed your prices. You tell me a price, then you bill me for another price." I'm like, "Well, let me stop you there. That's literally never happened. I don't know what story you just created in your own head, but that's never happened." I'm like, maybe we had an instance where I told you it was going to be 2,300 to 2,600, and it fell somewhere within there. Because when you give people a price range, their mind always goes to the lowest number. So if I tell you 23 to 28, you're thinking, "Oh, nice, 2,300 bucks." No, I said 23 to 28. But in that case, no, I'm not afraid of confrontation in that sense. Again, I'm not going to let him say something that I know is not true. So, I stood up for myself, told him that's not the case, and booked him. We just did that was last month at the car show. I haven't seen him for a year and a half, and then we just did $4,000 in work for him the past week. But Again, he had other detailers out since then, and everything looked like hell. It was horrible. I mean, his trailer had ceramic high spots all over it. It was bad. And I'm like, dude, like, can we both agree that you understand why I charge what I charge? But changing the price after the fact is something I've never done.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Can we talk about that a little bit? Like, how do you price your details? Are you giving a range over the phone after asking questions and then looking at it in person, or how do you do that?
most of the normal details, no, because they're packaged. So we got, it pretty much stays within that line. Like a full detail on an Escalade's 485. Unless it's trashed, then we'll get there in person, realize that, and let you know before we start. Hey, it's going to be actually 600, not 485 because of XYZ. Very rarely does that happen though. Like it's very very rare we get truly disaster details. Like maybe a few a year. So it really most prices stay within our price point. Um, One-off jobs like a trailer like that, I'll go out there and do a little test spot, get an idea, calculate. All right, we can do this in a day, and then I'll send off an estimate. So a
Mm-hmm.
lot of it's just the answers are within my head because I've been doing it so long that I have a pretty good. My internal clock is really strong. Pretty much any time throughout the day, I can guess what time it is and be right within 5 minutes of the time.
So you said your full detail for an Escalade's 485,
Yep,
and how long does that typically take you?
2 hours and change maybe.
And what are you doing for that package?
That's exterior wise, wash, clay, wax, wheels, tires, the barrels, all that stuff, engine detail, and then a traditional full interior. So carpet extraction, seats, everything. Using the air compressor on the interior. So a real thorough detail.
Okay. And is there a package like below that or above that?
Yeah, so it's level 1, 2, and 3. The one I just described is our level 3. That's really our highest package before you get into machine polishing and that kind of thing. The level 2 on an Escalade would be 350. That one's still going to be the engine detail, same outside. Interior wise, we're using the air compressor to clean. We're doing a steering wheel detail, with the auto fiber scrub pad, cleaning the mats and the engine detail. So those four main upgrades. The level 1 is 225, and that's going to be more of like a vacuum kind of wet wipe down, but more so focused on like the door panels, the console. We're really, if we see a stain or something on the seats, we're definitely going to wipe it off, but it's not a heavy scrub. So that kind
Mm-hmm.
of gives people a good clear indication. So like the level 2 to level 3, the only thing that's being left out is extracting the carpets and a deep clean on the seats.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Do you think that people are pretty good about picking that, or do you have to really, sway them and direct them?
No, people are pretty good. I mean, I just explained to them like, hey, level 1 is our entry level. Level 2 is our most popular. Level 3 is if you really want to get this thing dialed in. So no, it's more so I ask the questions like, what's your goal of this? Like, is there anything you want to specifically get done? No, not really. All right, well then you'll probably be pretty good with a level 1. If you keep up with it pretty decently, our standard detail should get you up to speed. Or a lot of times I say they're just unsure. I say, well, let's just schedule it as a level 2. If we get there and realize it needs more, we'll bump it up. If we get there and realize it doesn't need a level 2, we'll bump it down to a standard detail. Does that sound good? Just being honest. And I mean, we do it all the time. I'll get out there and say, this doesn't need this. Let's bump it down.
Yeah. I'm curious to know, well, how often are your customers like, are they all happy with like the packages and the prices? Like usually, like,
To my knowledge, yeah.
yeah.
I mean, we get such little complaints, but that's the thing with the industry or really any industry. Like, if people have complaints, sometimes you're not going to know about it. They're not going to voice it because of X, Y, Z. But I always try to make it a point that, hey, if we miss something, tell me, or we're never going to get better. We only get better by criticism. So when that kind of stuff happens, it's very rare, but no, for the most part, when we leave a detail, I mean, we're the ice cream guys. Like, we're the ice cream van. Like, they're happy. We're happy. They're happy. Everyone's stoked.
Is that part of your checkout process, telling them that, hey, if we missed anything, we want to know? That's how we get
No, I
better.
text them. I'll text them the next day. Say, hey, Josh, again, buddy, appreciate you having us out yesterday. How did everything look? Was anything missed? And pretty much 100% of the time they'll say, no, dude, everything looked great. I'll say, awesome. Well, if we ever do, if anything ever does pop up, bring it up to us. But I appreciate you, having us over again, man. Thank you.
Yeah.
So I'm not like, if you ask too many times, they're going to think, okay, well, you clearly missed something.
Yeah.
So you don't want to be fishing for it too hard, but you want to make it, a point. I remember a few years ago, I don't know how I forgot this, but I was doing a full detail on a Civic, and somehow I forgot to slide the sunroof and clean the freaking sunroof. So in that case, I went out there and I was like, "How did everything look?" She was like, "It looked good." And I was like, "I can smell your hesitation." I was like, "Just tell me what I missed." She's like, "You forgot the sunroof." I was like, "Damn it!" It's like, but I've never missed a sunroof since then.
Yeah.
So, again, it's like you can only get better if you're, mindful or aware of what it is.
How much does your van set up, like in the equipment that you have? Like I saw you have like the airbrush for tire shine.
Mm-hmm.
I saw that you've got like a rack to like let your towels dry out and grab them. Like how much does all of that stuff help with your timeliness, speeding up
Oh,
your details?
huge. I mean, efficiency is huge for us, dude. Like, I genuinely think we have one of the most efficient vans in the game. Like, the second we put the van in park, like, we're pretty much scrubbing and foaming your wheels in 30 seconds. It's really, really fast. Everything has a place that goes right back to it, which is all right at the back of the van, so you don't have to get in the van really for anything. So towels hang up, we flip them gray side versus red side. Red side means they're ready, gray side is they're still drying. And again, you can swivel that towel rack so I can always get it in the sun to dry them out as fast as possible. So we'll obviously reuse the drying towels because the car's already clean at that point, so the towels are still clean. Get them dried out. Air compressor on the paint gun for the tires, that's been huge. And I saw so many guys doing it, and it's just overspray city. But again, I painted cars for a few years, so I'm like, I know I can do this tighter. Half of the guys are using silicon-based tire dressing, which is going to fog like crazy. If you're using a paint gun, it has to be water-based. So, but no, I got that thing so dialed, like I can spray chrome wheels and have zero overspray. You're just treating it like an airbrush. You're taking a little bit more time, but it's by far the most uniform tire application because with a brush, you're brushing it on, but you're brushing it off at the same time. You really can't get a brush under the tires. If I can reach it with air, I can get some tire shine on there. So it speeds it up. With the wheel wells too. Oftentimes wheel wells look pretty crappy when you're done with them, even if they're clean. So I'll get in there with the paint gun. I can truly airbrush it, get all the way in there. So that way, if you're walking up on the car, you catch the wheel wells. It's black. You don't even see in there. It's deep. It's rich. So, yeah, I mean that's been huge for me using the paint gun.
I want to talk about social media to kind of close us out. I seen that you started posting more on your YouTube like a month ago.
Yep. Yeah, we're trying to keep up on that. I mean, that's a new thing for sure. But yeah, we got to record another video here soon. Probably do a van tour or something like that.
What's the goal there?
Uh, my goal with it was to have videos for that mobile TV to show it at car shows. That's my main goal with it. My goal is not to make money on it. I'm sure eventually we will, but more so for clients. Like, I think it'd be cool to send, to have clients see that. Like, and I want to have it all be like one-off stuff. So most of the videos I would imagine already so far are like fairly unique. Most guys aren't doing that kind of work.
Yeah.
With the fire truck restoration, the mobile command center, that was almost $5 million. Just a lot of one-off things. But my goal with it really was just to have professional videos on that TV where I could just run a 2-hour loop at car shows. And eventually our next detailing van is going to have a big 65-inch flat screen mounted flush into the wall out the back. So then every detail we're at, we're just playing a 20-hour loop that just plays continuously. That'll get people's attention for sure.
Yeah. Whether they're walking up or
100%. I mean, some of these houses, you got 25 dog walkers in an hour. They're
yeah.
going to stop. Like, there's no way they can't stop.
So I'm curious to know a little bit more about the coatings too. Like with doing mobile coatings. I want to know like how has that been? Polishing, corrections, coatings. How does that go mobily?
Well, again, I mean, we're not doing it outside. So we're always in the client's garage. I tell a client, as long as you got enough room for us to roll our chairs around, set up our tripod lights, we're good to go. The biggest thing you want to look out for, obviously the coating is if it's hotter out and there's more humidity, You're going to have a lesser of a flash time. You're going to need to put probably a little more elbow into it to get the coating off completely. But again, I just chuck that up too, that, it is what it is. We don't have a shop right now. And honestly, I kind of prefer it that way, because when you sell someone a coating, a lot of people don't realize how much work actually goes into it. So, I can't tell you how many houses we've been at where we're out there. They keep coming in and out. They're coming out of their house and they're like, man, you guys are still here. I'm like, dude, I'm on the same side still. Like, this takes time. So, like, if you have a shop and they drop it off, they don't know if maybe you spent 4 hours on the car. They have no idea. So I like being there at their house. It also gives me an opportunity to learn more about them. The more times they're walking in and out, the more questions I can ask them. I can learn about their family. I can learn about where they like to vacation. I can learn about, what are their goals, how many kids they got. I can learn more about them. What's the dog's name? And all that stuff I'll put into my CRM. So the next time I'm over, I have better questions to ask.
You do take pretty thorough notes on your CRM.
Yeah. I don't know about thorough, but like, if I pull up to your house, I'll know that you're a single guy. I'll know that you are planning on this vacation. I'll know your dog's name, whatever. So then the next time I'll check my CRM when I'm pulling up to your house. And when the dog runs out, I'll greet the dog by his name. I'll say, man, for being such a good guy, I would expect you got a girlfriend yet. You got a girlfriend already? And it's like, you get him laughing. And it's like, he knows more about me. So, no, I'm always trying to ask more stuff. Like, we had a guy last year where, this always just pops in my head because it was just funny. But they were going to Italy next month for his daughter's wedding. And then the next time I see him, I'm like, Rich, I can't believe you had enough money to even fly home after that wedding. Like, a wedding in Italy, bro, like, that's crazy. And he's laughing, we're laughing. It's like, again, just show them that you can remember things like that.
Yeah.
But I'm not remembering. It's all in my notes.
Yeah, right. No, it'd be impossible to remember all that.
It's hard now. I mean, I have people that, I think I had like 10 people came up to me last car show and were like, I'm like, oh man, good to meet you. Oh, good to see you again, man. They're like, you detailed my car like 4 times. I'm like, fuck.
Yeah.
It's like, you can only remember so much.
Yeah, no. Yeah, and sometimes I'll see someone and I'll be like, where do I know you from? And I'll thumb through my notes because I've got a notes section on my phone. I write down people's names and something like that I can identify about them.
That's I use that a lot too, like in person. Like I said, I'm running for mayor. So like when I'm going into Best Buy, I'm walking, like if someone's walking by me, I'm like, hey, what's going on, man? How's your day going? Not just, hey, or I typically will use, like, one of my favorite lines is, oh man, hey, I thought you were Jim. I thought you were one of my clients, man. You look just like him. I was like, you drive a Corvette too? He's like, nah, man, I got this and that. And it's like, dude, I can't even tell you how many details I've sold from acting like I knew them when I knew damn well that wasn't who I thought it was. But you can do it in a way where they're like, they genuinely think that I thought it was someone else. And then next thing you know, we're talking for 2 minutes in the parking lot.
Yeah. I want to mention one more thing about the social media. Another thing that's like really helped us is creating YouTube videos about questions that have been asked, like from my customers, and then sending that video over to like a potential customer when they have that same question.
Yeah, I think that could be great for sure. That's something I want to do here soon with my, we're going to rebuild my whole website, but I'd like to have it where, you click on the level 1, the level 2, it obviously has the written breakdown, but then there's also a watch this short 45, 30-second video. And that's going to be me talking, hey guys, it's Adam with Detailers of Sarasota. Wanted to show you what our standard detail includes, and then go through there. All right, so now you've seen our standard detail. Our level 2 is going to have these 4 main upgrades. So again, it's like, just maybe some people are more auditory, maybe some people want to read more. So just being able to appeal to all of them and having some substance behind it.
Yep. Now, have you noticed difference in business since you started posting on Facebook and Instagram? Like, do you feel like that has helped?
Yeah, I mean, since I started showing my face, it's been huge. And I'm still not that comfortable behind the camera, but it really doesn't matter. I mean, business doesn't really care about your feelings, so just do it anyways. Now I feel more and more comfortable, but I still feel weird. Like, where now, like in the past, if there's a bunch of people around, I wouldn't have wanted to take a video because I'm like, dude, I'm going to look weird. I'm going to sound weird. Now it's like, I don't really care. I'll be talking to a customer. I'll be like, hold on, let us get a video real quick. And I'll just have them stand right there and watch me do it. Like, it doesn't really matter. I mean, I'm talking to freaking 600 people a day on my stories. Like I can't let one person see me do it in person. Like it's a limited mindset.
Yeah. Well, in the day and age we live in, I think everyone like gets it. They understand. And ultimately, I think a lot of people that run businesses, especially, they strive to be on camera and be comfortable.
Yeah.
So
And
when they
it's
see you
it's an
doing it,
advantage for sure. I mean, a lot of people still aren't doing it. A lot of people are posting great content, but it's not their face every day. A lot of people are staying vanilla with their content. I think vanilla is death. You got to be yourself. I post guns on my Instagram. I got videos of us polishing cars, holding an AR on my shoulder. You know, that's going to lose me clients, but it's also going to gain me clients.
but you're
And the
being
client,
true to yourself.
yeah, I'm being true to myself. And then I don't have to put a mask on. I don't lie. I don't act like someone I'm not. So then anytime we start a video, I don't have to, put my Mr. Beast mask on. I can just be myself.
Hmm.
It makes it that much easier, that much faster.
Yeah. Yeah. How much time does it take away to record these videos?
No time. I mean, we're pretty much doing them in one hits. Just quick. When we get the detail done, I hand Steve the phone. When we get a video, it takes 30 seconds. It's quick.
One takes.
One takes. Sometimes
Some.
two, sometimes five. Sometimes I'll be like, dude, I don't know what the hell I'm trying to say. Because I don't even think about what I'm going to say until he's like, and then I just start ripping. So sometimes I'll say something totally that's, irrelevant or whatever. I'll be like, let's redo that. That sounded stupid. But
Yeah.
for the most part, no, it's recorded. I'm like, that's good. I don't overthink it. Could be better here. Could be better there. Whatever. It's good enough. Let's post it.
Yeah. But people start to associate you with detailing, and they see you on their feed, and that's ultimately just another touch point, another reminder, and builds credibility, right, amongst
Yeah.
all the other guys.
I mean, again, like I never leave the house without my uniform on, without something. Like I was at Best Buy when I was buying that TV last month, and the guy was like, "Oh man, I just got one of your automated emails." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, saying it's been a year. I'm like, "I detailed your car?" Again, it's like someone I can't remember their face, and he's like, "Yeah, dude." He's like, "I was about to hit you up, but I literally just got." He's like, "Look, I got your automated message an hour ago." And then he starts telling his coworker about me. Next thing I know, there's 4 Best Buy employees and me all talking about detailing. So it's like the more videos I can post, and then the more times I'm walking around in the shirts of the videos that I post, yeah, people are going to start to remember you.
Yeah. Well, Adam, I really appreciate you coming on, man. This has been great.
Yeah, I appreciate it too, Josh. Thank you, buddy.
Well, let's do it again if you're up to it. I'd love to do a
Anytime.
check-in because this was really helpful. And man, I feel like having a shop is great. Don't get me wrong, but there's something really cool about what you're doing, like being mobile and having that professional setup. And man, it's so convenient for the customers, and it's so easy to just drum up business. You get so many people walking by you every
You get
day.
so many more people than a shop.
Yeah.
So many more.
And you don't necessarily have to have I think a lot of people listening that maybe are just getting started, they see like, man, this guy's got $100,000 plus fan setup and he's spending all this money on it. And it's like, you don't necessarily have to do that when you start, right?
No, but I mean, the truth is half of my competition, they don't even have uniforms. It's like, no, you don't need $100,000 van, but you do need uniforms. You do need, thick business cards. Don't get the cheap cards. Get the best cards you can buy. Spend 70 cents versus 20 cents. You should have trifolds. You should be leaving handwritten thank you cards in every car that you complete. All of these things don't really cost money, but you should be learning how to ask better, more engaging questions. You should be looking them in the eyes, shaking their hand firm. All of these things you can easily control that don't really cost any money. So, yeah, again, if you're doing all of that and I'm also doing all that and I still pull up how I pull up, yeah, I might have a little more of an advantage. But like I said, most competition, they don't even have uniforms. Like it's really not hard to stand out in this industry, I think, if you're just a little intentional about it.
I agree. Well, cool. Well, man, thanks again.
Yeah, thank you, Josh.
Hope everyone listening enjoyed, and thank you for listening.
Yeah, and if anyone's got any questions, I'm just Detailers of Sarasota on everything, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. So feel free to shoot me a message. I'm always replying to guys. Always happy to help and give some advice wherever I can.
Awesome. I will link it in the show notes too.
Awesome. Thanks, Josh.
Yep. Thank you.